1 and 2.
1 and 2, we're wearing awesome fucking T-shirts.
Oilandwhiskey.com for your merch. T-shirts is what that is. This shirt, that shirt, and there's another shirt that we're not wearing because Phil's not here. There's very limited of them left. And I know our listeners well enough that they're about to be gone, and then there's going to be people that are be like, I didn't even know.
Now you know.
What happened to those shirts.
Now you know.
I didn't get any shirts. This is your opportunity to buy the shirts.
The problem is that we're saying this here 2 hours into the podcast, so we've probably lost the vast majority of listeners. But
that Elliot can put this part
to the beginning.
in the beginning.
Okay,
and if we're saying it, just know, listener, you're listening to it now. This is right at the beginning, but we talked about it at the end.
That's crazy.
Oh, go ahead and let that blow your mind a little bit.
Crazy. It doesn't change the fact that these are awesome fucking T-shirts.
The shirts look like this. You might not look like this in the shirt, but the shirt will look like this.
I sure hope they look better than you do in that shirt.
I assume that whoever buys this shirt will probably look their age as opposed to being older trying to look younger, like me.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please, if you buy this shirt, act your age and dress your age. This is a medium. I know it doesn't look like it because this sleeves, but the key to that is buy a size down from what you really are, and you look big. I can tell that's a...
I'm still rocking kid sizes, dude. This is a 14-16 limited, extra limited edition. Extra limited edition.
In all seriousness, it's a great shirt. They're not like
shirts,
wild and crazy. It's kind of an if you know kind of thing, right? It's this one's the OW, right? That one's the oil and whiskey. It's got a little thing on the back. Great shirt. Oilandwhiskey.com for your merch.
Wheels, tires, and stance are number one. You know, you guys' chassis helps make this possible. I believe that if you have the right wheels, and not just the style, but the size and the diameter and the tire and the stance, I can look at a vehicle across the parking lot from across the way. You can tell it sits right. I go look at it. If they got the wheels, tires, and stance right, there's more going on here.
Jason Hill from Hill's Hot Rods, some of the baddest C10s, OBSs, and all-around trucks.
I started out at John Deere, believe it or not. I was a diesel mechanic. Through high school, through college, I was an art major. Thought I was going to do kind of commercial art, maybe ad art. I really didn't know. Never could have predicted what I do now was going to happen from then.
Just go drive them, enjoy them. We need to cruise.
I'm jaded to it as well. We'd have like little pop-up cruise nights that they'd call them, where you'd go to like Dog and Suds, little hot dog stand or something.
But you would just go park, right?
Yeah, you would just go park. You'd roll in, and you know I was a teenager at a '69 Camaro, and you know you'd sit a little lower in the seat. You'd foot cam that thing just a little bit to make it feel like that car was getting away from you as you're coming through the parking lot, because it's got so much fucking horsepower you just can't handle it, right?
I don't know why more people don't do different wheels left and right.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Because
you should do it.
I'm going to.
You should definitely.
I'm probably going. Welcome everybody back to another episode of Oil and Whiskey. This week's episode is brought to you by WeatherTech. Floor Liner HP is WeatherTech's top-tier floor mat. It's the next generation of floor mat protection after WeatherTech's best-selling flagship product, the Floor Liner.
A necessity if you care about your car and want to keep it looking pristine. New car, help maximize resale value when it's time to trade it in. Older pre-owned car, make it look better with a simple interior refresh upgrade. Mask the wear and tear. Laser measured to fit your exact make and model, with thousands of applications available for older and newer models.
No one has the depth of coverage that WeatherTech offers, constantly adding to the list with its latest vehicle releases. High-wall design for ultimate year-round protection, its raised edges contain dirt, water, sand, snow, and everyday messes, keeping that factory carpet in its original condition.
Super durable and hefty, so it lies flat, won't warp or degrade over time. Soft touch feel, nibs on the underside, and retention devices help them stay securely in place. American-made in Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Go to WeatherTech.com to check out their Floor Liner HP and find your application. This week, we have none other than Jason Hill from Hill's Hot Rods out of Lubbock, Texas, known for Buddy Holly and some of the baddest C10s, OBSs, and all around trucks. You've been doing this for what? It's got to be close to 30 years.
Over 31.
31 years.
Years. Yes.
Jason Hill, Hill's Hot Rods. Glad to have you, man.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it, man. I've been a big fan of yours. We stopped by your place out on that road tour years ago and got a nice tour of your shop, your personal shop, and you got some cool stuff going on over there.
You got a unique look. You've got a signature. You've been building OBSs since before when they were just body styles. They were just they weren't old body styles. They were just the body style.
It was a BS.
It was so bad that I still call them CKs. I don't even like the OBS. I like CK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The OBS
That's how long it's been.
The OBS is tough for me too because, man, even me, I grew up with those trucks. You know, it's nothing old about it. I
remember when they were on the lot. Yeah.
Well, and when I started, that's what we were doing. You know, OBSs were our daily routine. You know, we were doing roll pans and smooth bumpers and bed covers and lowered and wheels, and that was just the normal day. They were everywhere.
I remember in high school, I had a buddy that was a couple years older than me and Corey, and he got a new 95 or 96 turquoise color that was two-wheel drive, short wheelbase, regular cab, right? It's a
good truck.
And that was 5.7, right? Or 5.3. 5.7 in the
5.7,
yeah.
Jason,
and
he's the guru.
I remember being, at that time I was 14 or 15, and going like in that thing. We were right 3 deep on the bench. That was the fastest feeling truck. Like, it wasn't fast, but it felt fast. One wheel peel, and that thing, we would always, being kids, especially if you're riding in the middle, you just reach over there with your left foot and stomp on his foot because he drove a little granny and just stomp it. Those trucks, those trucks were fun.
They were.
But at that time, we thought they were fast.
They really were pretty quick and peppy, but they felt fast.
I drove a 95 Z71 and I put Flowmaster Cat back on it, and the truck sounded great back then. It was it got up and went. You'd burn the tires off it if you wanted to.
Yeah, you absolutely could. So you said 31 years.
31 years.
And you've been right there in Lubbock the whole time, right?
A very short time in a small town west of here, as I was doing it on the side. I started out at John Deere, believe it or not. I was a diesel mechanic.
Wow.
But through high school, through college, I was an art major and thought I was going to do kind of commercial art, maybe ad art. I really didn't know. Never could have predicted what I do now was going to happen from then. But I was an artsy guy. I had to go do what I had to do to make a living, and that was John Deere. My dad was John Deere, and I knew how to work on John Deere. So that's where I started when I got married and knew I could go there and make a living. But I always had a place in the back of a John Deere in the warehouse, or I would rent a spot or something to be able to do what I do now, then to kind of piddle, I guess I would call it. And it just transformed into what we do today.
Just one job after another. And then, at what point you had a good job as a diesel mechanic at John Deere. At what point's the breaking point where it's like, I've got to pick which camp I'm going to be in, right?
Yeah. After about 5 years of doing it on the side, I would work 8 to 6 John Deere. Sometimes in the evenings when it was that time of year, whether it be planting season or harvest season, and then I'd have to stay afterwards. But then as soon as I could get off, I would go over to my shop and work from 6 till 2 in the morning. Basically 2 8-hour shifts going on here. And I knew that I really enjoyed one of them more than the other. Not that John Deere was a bad thing, but I was looking forward to doing what I was doing at night.
What were you doing? Were you doing bodywork and paint? Or were you doing roll pans or bags? What?
All of that, everything. Okay. You just anything I could to have something in the shop so I could go there. That's what I was doing.
Gotcha.
And it worked. and I never seen a slow day. I never uh, went there in the evening and thought, I guess I won't be here tonight. I'm going to go home because I have nothing to do, because it was never that way. And then it finally got to the point of being so busy that I had to decide. And um, I, as busy as it was when we do the harvest season, it was also the worst time of year to work, because everyone needs it right now. They're in a hurry. You go through the summer with nothing to do as a commissioned employee, and then all of a sudden it's harvest season where you can make all your money, but they're such pushy customers that got to have it now because they're in the harvest, that you just hated harvest season. And I decided I wasn't going through another cotton stripping season, and I turned in a notice, and we had things arranged here at the house, and my wife could take care of everything that we needed to pay for, and I could do this if it didn't work. And so we never looked back. And now, 31 years later, I feel like it's the best thing I ever did, and I enjoy going to work today just like I did those evenings, and it's great.
So it's been nothing but enjoyable days every day from when you started until now, right? I mean, hot rod industry, it's just been a blast, huh?
It's a blast.
Not a tough day, no
it's
days
work.
Got you down.
Y'all know it's work, but it doesn't feel like work when you get to go do what you really love to do. And that's where I'm at. I feel like
Nice.
I get to go create and do what I want to do, and enjoy it and get paid for it too. Man, this is great. This is so awesome.
When you decided to, hang your shingle and do it all on your own, did you have a couple full builds lined up, or you just have enough small jobs to keep you busy?
I had a couple, maybe 3 full builds. Nothing like what we do today, but to us, a complete paint job was a full build. It would keep you busy for a few weeks, and it was good. Plus, the little things like I was saying we were already doing on the CK truck. So I felt like I had enough to feel confident for 6 or 8 weeks, and then hopefully we would build into more work from that as they seen I was there throughout the day, and it would grow. And it did. It did.
Yeah, that in those days, I remember doing a fair amount of custom bolt-on stuff on the CK trucks, and those, one little impact and an 8-piece, quarter drive socket set, and you could pretty much do everything that you needed to do with that entire truck, for the most part. And
you're right.
Shit, I bet you, I don't know how many you've probably done, but I've had to have done, 250 like Trends billet grill installs on those CK trucks, Right. We had I had an MDF little jig set up, and you could get the whole grill out, those corner lights, and you could get the whole grill out in 4 minutes. You throw it in that jig, air saw it rough on the center, DA sand it down, and boom, you're popping in your 8 holes, popping in your grill, and you're back in. You could do it good and a nice install in 25 or 30 minutes. We charged an hour of labor for it.
Turning and burning.
Yeah, I got 50% of all labor dollars. So I was like, man, we on a Saturday we were just cranking, and a billet grill at that point.
Wanted at least a grill, right?
Yeah, and it didn't matter what style. It could be, at that point it was 20s were big. This was 2000, 98 to 99.
17s were big.
17s were big, but
when I was starting.
You Goodyear came out with that tire, so you were doing 20-inch, Asantis or stuff on Suburbans, because we did stereo and stuff too. But it didn't matter if it was a sport truck, or a Tahoe or a Suburban or whatever. Everybody wanted that billet grill, and we just had hundreds in stock, and it didn't matter the style. Everybody, I'm getting a radio put in. Oh, I go ahead and get me a billet grill. Go ahead and get this.
This is at the wheel shop.
This is downtown Birmingham. Yeah, this is Pelham Performance next level.
Upstill.
Oh yeah, everybody wanted a billet grill, and then you got into when APC was big back in the day. You had clear marker lights, and your clear turn signals, and then your your tail lights, all that stuff. Man, that was just wham bam pop in just so fast. And then when their guys were in there, generally that was a couple-year-old truck, and they had stereo, and like, hey, can you put door hinge bushings in it while you got it? Absolutely, we got those too.
Yeah. We lived a sheltered life here in the Midwest. Chicagoland area, nobody did anything. There wasn't a shop that existed. You couldn't find a shop to put a grill that in. We had one little place called the Car Boutique that was in Buffalo Grove. And you'd go there and, you could buy like your detailing supplies. You could maybe get a pair of wheels or some set of wheels. But you would never see a truck going down the road with one of those billet grills.
Really?
Like sport mirrors. It didn't exist around here.
Oh, street scene sport mirrors were.
Yeah.
That involves
Is that
paint.
because we're in the South, like we are, there's just that many more trucks, do you think?
I think it's just because the winters are so torturous on
They don't
those
last.
vehicles. And it's, if you drove around in something like that in one winter here with the salt, that'd be the end
I
of
think
it.
it was different closer to, well, you were down, in the city all the time with the body shop stuff, so it wasn't even different down there.
Never saw any of that stuff. I can't ever remember. So, I remember reading it in the magazines. They were like catalogs. A sport truck magazine. It was that thick, and
the truck thing was wild, though.
Just didn't get it.
Not to harp on it too much, but like, especially in the South, the CK trucks in particular, and it carried on with new body styles, but CK trucks, it did not matter the style or demographic or type of person that you were. There was like core things that you did. Now, you might go lower than somebody else. You might do a different style of wheel than somebody else. You might go, roll pan and somebody else doesn't. But there was core things that, you're a construction guy that was driving a new Z71 that wanted marker lights and a billet grill and some, interior dress-up pieces. You got the same guy that's, paying in a big old wad of cash, with full wall stereo and, 20s and stuff like that. He wants the same billet grill and some same sport mirrors and the same billet interior stuff. Then you've got a young kid that's, just doing his first, bolt-on, bag kit that's going to, put 18s and 20s on it. He wants the same billet interior stuff and the same. It's wild how it didn't matter. You could have a banker guy in a black Z71 short wheelbase that's awesome. And you could have, extended cab with, 615s in the back of it that's going to do SPL contests or something. It didn't matter. They had those core things of like, I got to get my grill. I got to get my corner lights. Yeah. And roll pans too, especially with bolt-on roll pans. You didn't have to do all the body work and paint.
The only thing that hit here was the stick-on Lund stuff.
Oh,
remember, you could get like the little the quarter, the extended cab window covers. You get the bug deflector. You can get the tail light covers. That was. You see a lot of trucks rolling around with that, all paint to match.
Was there a bunch of big conversion truck stuff up here? Did Southern Comfort stuff come up here with the fade jobs and any other ground effect stuff?
Not really.
Fade jobs, fade paint on the sides.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I remember the trucks, and it looked like all like the fiberglass ground effects stuff was like just falling off of it from the factory.
Well, you didn't see. Oh, man. Back in the days.
Yeah.
Were you doing on suspension stuff? Was it WeatherTech 5.7 stuff, or were you getting into like body dropping and bagging and Z-ing and
later on?
Okay,
but then when it started, it was just WeatherTech straight up. Then some helper bags if you were going to use it. You had to have some helper bags, but very few had a compressor, had the onboard. You had to air it up with a chuck and support it and then let it out when you were through hauling load. But WeatherTech for sure.
Yeah, WeatherTech, they had it. They had the ads. They had the look. They had the stuff.
Sure.
And
they did all those posters with the hot chicks.
Oh man,
remember?
That's when. That's when
I remember.
I still have the magazine.
I remember. I tried bringing it back. We got a lot of flack for that. Yeah. We did. The more social media stuff. But when we did that Good Guys OBS truck. We did a little photo shoot that was
cool
kind of a throwback, and we hired a model and did like a bathing little bikini photo shoot. It was very divisive.
The times have changed.
50 on how it was.
Times have changed.
I didn't even think twice about it. I'm like, to me, that was what was in the mag. The WeatherTech ads, all the ads, and it was cool, right?
Yeah.
But we got some calls of people who are like, I will never buy a fucking chassis from you guys again for publishing that pornography. Like,
I stand by my statement. If you don't have to partake. You don't have to like get all jazzed. You don't have to even look at the video. You can be like, oh, it's not for me. But the guy that takes the time to either send a letter, a voicemail, or an email, that's a guy that says the things that he says in that is hiding some demons. Like, you don't get that worked up over seeing a chick in a bikini, right? To say the things you do, you're struggling with your own issues. You got some skeletons in the closet. If that pisses you off, right? There's Carl's Jr. and Hardee's had worse commercials than what we did in the fucking bikini thing. Like, hey, get over it,
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad, but
it wasn't.
Yeah.
some people just having a big, strong opinion and want to be heard by people who will listen.
I get it, and that's fine. Like, you can have opinions. I just, I guess my thing is I don't
overboard.
Yeah. We sound kind of hypocritical because we're giving our opinions on things right now, and we expect people to listen to them.
We're just doubling down on it right now. Oh man, where did all that start evolving? I mean, how do you go from you're basically painting cars, doing roll pans, kind of? It's like side jobs more or less, right? That are starting to evolve into a full business. I mean, where does it turn to like these are like real custom cars where you're doing fabrication and you're getting bigger budget jobs in? And how did that just naturally progress, or did you push towards that, or how did that all come to be?
I feel like it kind of naturally progressed, but with me growing up through high school, I graduated in '84. So square body trucks were everywhere. And I grew up in a small town just northeast of here in Lubbock. So I can tell you that time, that area around 82, 83, 84, there were more square body trucks running around in any town I went to. And we would cruise different towns just to go cruise. And everybody had lowered, not WeatherTech hadn't come on yet at that time. That really started with the OBSs, CKs to me.
Yeah. They had to have Westerns on them, didn't they? You had to have some Western wheel.
When I did my first truck, there was not even a lowering kit available. My dad and I did some things to the A-arm, cut the arm, stepped the ball joint up. We did what we could to get it down to where it looked like it was about a 4.6 drop today to that truck. It was one of the only ones running around in this area that was low like that.
So much cross-member clearance, too, on the front.
Oh, it's so bad. But it looked cool, dang it.
Cross-member clearance. Yeah, you look cool.
Yeah, you do.
Find some nice, smooth roads. But,
yeah.
So I had a passion and just a flavor of those square body trucks. I liked those because you're influenced by what you see when you're at that age that you're influenced by. And as I started my shop and we were doing stuff, I decided to build a square body because by then you could buy some lowering stuff and some parts and things for it. I wanted to do one like if I could have done it in high school, then I would have done it this way. And so that was my first big build. And one of my buddies here that was also a farmer, and it's crazy, but a lot of my customers early on were farmers that I knew from the John Deere. And then they would come over to here and use me for that and remained that way a long time. But he decided if I was building me a square body, then he wanted one. So basically I built two side by side. The way they were very similar, but colors were different, wheel choices were different, but very similar. And then the first show we went to was in Phoenix, Arizona. It was a trucking nationals. And we took those two, and there was nobody with square bodies there. We were kind of in places we weren't supposed to be. It was OBSs, it just was. Yeah. And we took those two, but I remember the first hint of people liking what I did was those two trucks, and Travis Noack shot both of them and put them in trucking.
What year was this?
That was in about, I'm going to say it was 98 or so, 99.
Was this the red flamed one?
No, that was very shortly after, because after he seen them, he was influenced by them. He said, I want a square body truck. And then we built his after those two.
What color was yours, the one you built?
Mine was the green and white one, kind of a...
the creamish green?
Yes, creamish on the bottom and green on top with a little bit of graphic. And his was an amber and cream with a little bit of graphic. My buddy's was. So we got more people say, man, y'all's two square bodies are just so cool. And, we're just glad to be there. We've never been to a big event like this ever. That's the first event I'd ever been to like that, other than a Sport Truck Nationals in Dallas, right about 97, earlier than that. One little deal. And this was a big, big show, a big thing. And all these people, do you guys happen to know Drew Brothers? Drew Brothers Customs out of Phoenix?
I've heard of them. I don't know them.
they came up. They had a semi. We didn't have a rig or anything then. We're just little uh, farm boys from West Texas. You know, we were nobody, but they had a rig. They had a big shop across the road there, and they came on. He said, "These square bodies are going to be the coolest thing you ever done. You just keep doing what you're doing." And I think it was the first thought of, people liked them. They're pretty cool. We were doing square bodies before they were cool, that's for sure. And we came back from that show. The magazines came out, and we were the coolest people around, man.
Yeah,
we were in the magazine.
Yeah, that was a
not
big
just a
deal.
little pop shop. We were in the magazine.
Big deal.
So it was crazy. Just crazy.
What was your style? What set you apart back then? I mean, you're fresh to it. I mean, you're not like what I would say a professional builder at that point, right? So what? You're going out there and you're making a splash. What's your thing? What was unique about those trucks that stood out?
red and flames.
I don't like red.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you don't like red at all.
Yeah. My wife made a joke before we were going to go on, and she said, "If they ask you your favorite color, you got to tell them something other than red." Sure.
I wouldn't believe you. I wouldn't have believed you.
I think my style was something that I still believe today, and wheels, tires, and stance are number one. I firmly believe today, you guys' chassis helps make this possible. That back then we didn't have that.
Sure.
But I believe that if you have the right wheels, and not just the style, but the size and the diameter and the tire and the stance, I can look at a vehicle across the parking lot that's sitting over there amongst another 50 cars, and from across the way, you can tell it sits right. And I go look at it because I feel like if they got the wheels, tires, and stance right, there's more going on here. And so it's the first thing that draws me in when I'm picking at a Good Guys event for Builder's Choice, or when I'm building one. We have to get the wheels, tires, and stance first. How many times have you guys built a vehicle around, say, the wheels?
Almost
every.
I'm guilty of that. Like I can't even tell you.
Almost every vehicle, wheels. I mean, right now we're just about every single car we build. I fight with myself over. I'm fighting with myself over like 1/4 inches of tire diameter, and section width, and then it's like you're juggling back and forth between wheel diameters and wheel stagger front to back, just because you're trying to nail those diameters in order to configure the chassis to get the stance that you want. And so some of our biggest successes and our biggest failures have been ride height related. Like, I mean, I know there's been a handful of cars which, maybe it was like the customer's input that they wanted it to sit a certain way, but could have been such a badass car, but because it sat high and the wheel offset was kind of wacky and the tires weren't right, it just like the car never performed. It never did anything. It wasn't impactful, wasn't likable.
It didn't look as good as you thought it could look.
Exactly. Versus you could take something and forget about the body work and the body modifications. I'm aligned with you 100% on this. You set it right and just the right wheel tire, and then it could be even like a 1/2 inch of backspace or a little bit more sidewall, and it nails it. And just like you said, I'm the same way. I'll walk across the entire fairground if I see something like out there, and I'm like, damn,
let's go look at this.
That fucker just, it's not that it's got flames or it's got something radical on it. I'm like, shit.
That holds true so much.
It do with color or anything.
Yeah.
You just
Specifically with the square bodies and the OBS, because my preference, like, I love some, wild custom stuff, but you could take a bone stock grandpa 10,000 mile factory two-tone with factory bumpers and the factory trim and put it on a chassis and the right wheels and tires, and that's me. Like, holy shit, that looks good. And all you've done, like you said, wheels, tires, and stance. And that's honestly probably the biggest hurdle from a knowledge standpoint that we have to overcome with a customer base is the wheels and tires fitment and overall diameter with after a chassis purchase, right? And that's when it's hey, anytime somebody's like, hey, this thing doesn't sit like I thought it was, or doesn't sit like this one in the picture, the first question is, One, what's your ride height? What's your eye to eye on your shock, right? Do you have it set up at the designed ride height? And then once that question's answered, it's like, okay, what size are your wheels and tires? And generally, again, no offense to all the great builders and all the great customers, the answer
26-inch diameter tire.
Well, the answer is usually, well, what size? What's your overall diameter on your wheels and tires? Well, I'm running 18s and 20s. Okay, great.
It means nothing.
Right now, I need to know what your overall diameter.
I can't tell you.
Right. I think it's a 275. Okay, so what's the aspect? Let's get to what, and it's always when somebody's calling with an issue, it's drastically out. Either way too small and they've jacked it up to get it to ride it where they want, or it's way too big, right, for what they're setting. I mean, Chevelles, for example. Oh, I'm running a 22 on the back of it, and I can't get it to go any lower. Well, yeah, you're gonna have to start cutting some stuff, right? I want a 4-inch rocker height, ride height. Well, put a smaller wheel and tire on it. Go to a 20, like go to a 28-inch OD, like it's set up for, or something like that. That's probably the biggest thing. Like you said, I mean, it's wheels and tires, and sometimes they start the build and it's strictly just I want to run 22s on the back of this thing, no matter what it is, and no matter what the ride height. I just want to run 22s because they're bigger than 20s,
And it's not always the right answer.
Sometimes it's not.
Right.
It's not.
Depending on the vehicle,
And like I said, there's been many times that I have picked a wheel style, size, etc., and then decide how this vehicle is going to look because I just want that look of that wheel first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a wheel whore. I like wheels, and if I had my way and could afford it, I'd probably have 4 or 5 different sets of wheels for every car I have, and
change them out,
and change them all the time, just because it does change the look a lot, and I like wheels.
Yeah, it's amazing. Wheels aren't cheap, but that's like the most inexpensive thing you could do for the most drastic change of the vehicle.
For sure.
I mean, you could totally change a vehicle's personality. So quickly.
Wheels are a timely subject because we're working on some wheels for personal vehicles on fitment and stuff. I don't know why more people don't do different wheels left and right.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Because
you should do it.
I'm going to.
You should definitely.
I'm probably going. You only see one side at a time.
That's a good point.
You only see one side at a time, and like you said, I'd love to have different sets and change them out.
I could do 2 on one side, 2 on the other, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And we see that at SEMA and stuff sometimes, but I think it's because they wanted to showcase two different.
Yeah, we did it years ago with wheel sponsors because they wanted to show 2 different styles. But
I'll tell you what. For years, I mean, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to set the trend. I mean, for years, gym shoes, basketball shoes, they were white. Michael Jordan, he changed them to red. It cost they fined the hell out of him, but he changed. You're going to be the guy that changes the game. Before you know it, dude.
It's 2 different personalities. Why not have
Boost and Troy Trepanier are going to be putting different wheels on one
I mean,
side.
there's different. There's obviously there's builds that doesn't. But I mean, for a truck or especially for like a daily driver or something that you're having fun with and all that, there's no reason why you shouldn't have split personalities. You could have There's no possible way you can see both sides of the car at the same time, unless you take a picture and put them up next to each other.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
but then I'm kind of anal about stuff, and when it don't match, I'm going to be frustrated. I can't win.
There's you guys do staggered stuff front to back with the turbo style wheels and stuff.
Yeah, you do
some
different
of the Porsche
stuff.
guys do some stuff like that I could get behind, but there's like a symmetry thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's different.
I would struggle with it. You would struggle with it too because of me struggling with it.
I know
I would make you struggle with it.
I know. I would struggle with it. Yeah.
But that's
you guys are pretty particular too. I don't think you could live with it.
Yeah. I couldn't, man. I couldn't. As much, like I said, I'm scrutinizing tire sizes by the, fraction of an inch.
If tires could be made easier, like by the hot rod industry, think about how many things would be different.
Yep.
Good grief, because we're all like we talked about.
Stuck.
You build around the wheel and tire size, and I don't know how many times it's been. All right, okay, we're gonna do this and this, right? All right, well, this is the rear tire. Well, shit, they don't There's not a matching front.
They don't make that tire matching.
They don't make that tire in a matching front. So I got to step to this. And
I disregard. I'll mix treads. So I try to keep the tread wear similar front to back, but
yeah.
I'll mix up treads front and back because I've got to have the look.
Wow.
Got to. I mean, if you
as long as the sidewall looks similar, right?
right,
Yeah.
You don't want something here that's a totally different look.
Or you just shave them all. Shave them all down, and then it doesn't matter. It's just smooth rubber. Yeah.
Yes.
But if we could all come together and get a tire manufacturer to just start catering to us, it would elevate the hot rod industry so much, because that is literally the only limiting factor. You can make wheels. You can make wheels however you want.
Yep.
Custom wheels, as wide, as big, as deep dish, as concave.
Anything to do with the tire business catering to hot rod guys.
It would.
I want a 21 and an eighth. Well, but 21 and an eighth looks better than a 21.
But I think it's diameter. Like when I see the vehicles you build, I mean, you fill out a wheel opening, and your cars. I can always tell a Hills hot rod's build. It's apparent the car looks good. It's just like you're talking about. It drags you. You'll see it from, as you're rounding the corner at the fairground. You're like, oh, damn, let's go check that out. And to me, it's about filling out the wheel opening. Yeah. Like if you did a CK or an OBS and you put like a small diameter tire in it, and you'll see guys do that, and you hammer the truck down on the ground, it just doesn't.
And then put the wrong setup on there, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
Some people. Yeah.
Yep.
Another thing you do that I love a Hills hot rod build is the color drenched interiors. I just love a monochrome, color drenched everything on the inside. I'm a sucker for that. I love it. Like every single color that you've ever done in them. I just the blue and white OBS, the one you had at Barrett Jackson, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
We were beating Phil up to try and because Phil wanted that truck.
You came that close to Phil buying that truck. You if you would have worked him, you'd have sold that, and he'd have loved it.
That was a great looking truck.
Yeah.
Do you know what started all that? Were square bodies. That interior. Talking about what you're saying, you like about the interior. The same guy that's been doing my interiors for 28 years, Jimmy at JD Glassworks. When we first started. Like those two I was talking about, we took to Arizona. When we painted, normally the lower dash and like the inside of the doors and stuff, that would be the color of the exterior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the OBS, CKs, they were already out. And the thing that made those look different to me is they had some plastic in them, but more of the door, more of everything was color matched together. And when you shut the doors, the interior was the interior. And it had nothing to do with what was going on outside.
Yep.
So I hit with Jimmy with, man, I want to take our interior material and I want to color match it and a matte finish to be where when we spray all the metal door frames on the inside, because we have a kind of a thing that we do to all of them, but we tape off right on the inside edge of the door to where when you shut the doors and you look across to the other door, you cannot see any exterior color. It'll be interior color. Same with the bottom of the dash, wrap all the plastics, make everything. The goal was to make it look more modern or like a CK truck at the time.
Yeah.
And that's why it went that way. The only idea was to make it look like that CK because it's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a critical thing, a very important thing on the square bodies if you're taking one to the next level. And I struggle with that a little bit because those trucks you walk like a fine line. They're I mean, maybe like you recognize them. They're kind of iconic looking, right? So you're used to seeing the lower dash that's usually, it's usually body color and it's a gloss or like a semi-gloss. But as you start tweaking things and changing things and you want to match it to your interior, it's like, it's hard to know where you draw the line, how far you take it, because to your point, you have to go in and you have to mask all those doors and you got to spray because there's so much more visible metal on them, coming up the A-pillars on the door.
You got to take it back old school, start spraying some of that soft touch.
Yeah.
Start spraying some of the soft touch.
You got the lower dash, but then you've got the column, and it's just, you kind of drive yourself crazy. Then you've got the dash bezel, which has a lot of black plastic on it. So how far do you go? And it's usually like I've made the mistake of you have to go all the way because any little piece that you leave, once you dive in and you paint the one thing interior color, you got to do it all, every single piece.
It's either going to be
committed.
Yeah.
It's either going to be like a nice stock-ish restoration on the interior and clean, or it's going to be custom.
Yeah.
If it's going to go custom, then it's going to have to go.
But I like it to feel like that's stock-ish because everything's really still pretty stock in there, but it's tweaked a little bit to look like a Hills truck. That's all we think about it. This is how we do it. So this is the Hills way to do it, and most people seem to like it. I think so.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I know from experience that's an absolute pain to have 760 something different individual plastic pieces from an OBS laid all the way out and taking texture out and spray in and then putting everything back together. That's a not fun assembly process, man, but it looks so good and clean.
Yeah.
And now a lot of that stuff gets wrapped. So you wrap it in leather, and it's just even more of a pain because the tolerance is to wrap that and clip it into the clips, which aren't very forgiving.
Oh, those little clips will hold? Yeah.
No, they won't.
That one driver's side corner AC vent that always wants to pop right out. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. You know.
I know. Hopping back to, you talked about taking those 2 trucks there and, you had a customer say, hey, I like your look. I want to build it. Was that the first, like, hey, go do the Jason Hill thing. You do your thing and build me stuff. And how much input did he have in the build at that point?
It was the first one, and I would say really close to zero input that he got to have.
Damn.
I got to run with it. He was a friend and a fan, and he thought whatever we were doing was cool. Make the decision and let's do it. And he let me run. It was good.
How much different was that budget than what you built today?
6 or 7 times, maybe 8 times.
We all remember those.
That was a $25,000 build.
Wow.
Then. Yeah. And now you look at what happens. The chassis costs that. You know, so it's a different world.
Yeah, it's escalated quite a bit. But man, that's awesome to start off that way. It took a long time before you got customers to just kind of say, do your thing for us. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, you did whatever. I mean, we did restorations. We painted it whatever color they wanted. They'd certainly listen to your opinions, and they came to you for a reason. But it took a while before someone's like, I want the Roadster Shop look.
Yeah, but you're really super nice and friendly and have no ego either. So you would not. I guess you would just agree with the customer.
Maybe you're right
to do it. Some people aren't like that. Some people would just say, "No, that's a stupid idea. What if we do this?"
Yeah, I definitely interject.
I did more of that.
Yeah, I'll interject when I know it's something really bad, but I do it nicely. I'm
But at the same time, we talked about this. Like starting out, like when you have a nut to crack, you can't be super picky, right? You get pickier.
You just want to make them happy starting out.
Yeah,
whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here. Tell me what you want.
Yeah,
exactly.
But even today, it's that way. We want to listen to them. We want them to end up with what they want. But if they're headed in a direction you really don't feel like is the way to be, we got to discuss that and try to talk this out and maybe not do that because it's probably not the best decision.
Well, the customer nowadays, at least I think that the customer, broadly speaking, across trucks, cars, whatever the genre is, customers now are so much more educated than they were 15, 20 years ago. I mean, obviously a lot of factors. I mean, social media is definitely one of them. You can have access to so much more knowledge and such a more broader base of, if the guy says, hey, I'm looking to build, I want to build a Phantom dually, right? You can go and find every Phantom dually that's ever been built out there and get all the inspiration, If you're saying I want to build, a 69 Camaro, and do it kind of mild Trans Am, inspired, you've got, how many different versions to look at, for inspiration. Yep. But they also, the knowledge is out there between, reading about, all the different manufacturers' options, all the different builders that are out there. I just don't feel like the styles that are being built now, there was as many to reference from. And then then it was just print media, to see, so you couldn't interact. You couldn't direct message somebody and be like, hey, what's the offset on those wheels and tires?
Right.
So they get so much more information when they come in and they're like, hey, I want to build the so-and-so, and I've got, these wheels in mind, and I've got these, and I've got these, and I got these. And most of the time, if they're coming to you, you're coming to your shop, they've already seen some things that you've done, then they've got their idea. The difference in style gap isn't what it once was. Sometimes you just, back in the day, at least I know, it would just be, Yahoo search custom paint.
Yep.
And what's the 5 things that come up in, a 20-mile radius? And then they'll just call and be like, hey, do you do custom paint? And then they'll show up. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, also I'm needing, the running boards fixed, and I'm also needing this done. And while I'm at it, I want to lower it and stuff like that. And then it turns into a build. Well, now the customer's a little different. It's like, I'm going to have something built. I've watched all the shows. I've watched all the Instagram stuff. It's just it's a different customer base.
Yeah, there's a lot more information.
When they have access to their phones to be able to look all this up before they ever come talk to you.
Yeah.
Where when I started, social media was a magazine and a car show. That's all you had to discuss or find out any kind of hidden secrets to help you or anything. That's all there was.
And you were barely texting on a phone, let alone sending a picture on a phone.
Right.
At that point.
Exactly right.
Oh, and it wasn't really even like communicating via cell phone. It was landline. You're straight up. That was shop phone. Standing out in the shop, standing out in the shop with your thumb in your ear. It's noisy as hell. And
you remember when you spent the money and bought the really good cordless phones that would reach further, where you could walk the whole distance of the shop?
Cordless phones in the shop.
Oh man, cordless phones in the shop's the only way to go.
Yeah, I never did.
Yes.
Kept it on my hip.
Oh
yeah, you could walk the whole shop. Yeah, I
didn't
hated
have to stay in the office no more.
Exactly.
I could go out.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's always a set place of range. You're like, oh, I can't go past that car. I got to come back this way, whatever. It's not going to pick up.
Yeah, it is wild, the amount of just information that's just right at your fingertips, so easy to access. But what's funny is I feel like even like today, when we sit down with the customer to build a car, even though you have so much information, you've got, social media, you could find anything you want, YouTube, internet, it's all right there. I feel like there was more involvement like 15 years ago on the design side of like, here's all the magazines that I've got, here's all the ideas, this would be really cool to do.
Tangible stuff.
Yeah, things to show. Now it's just like we sit down with the customer building a 69 Camaro for, and he's looked around a little bit, but like, we didn't really show, and he saw Rogan's Camaro we did and liked some of the things we did, but it's not like we were thumbing through the millions of 69 Camaro Pro Touring cars to run through ideas. It's just like, years ago, I feel like there's a lot more interaction on that. Maybe they just trust, maybe.
That's the thing.
Maybe it's because we didn't do shit back then, and now we've done a few cars. I don't know.
I think it's a big act to the thing. The body of work that the shop has to show, and also the knowledge of the customer. At that point, the knowledge of the customer was what the materials that he brought in, and he wanted to make sure that shop was going to at least follow along these guidelines. And he wanted to say, don't do this. I don't like this. I do like this. I like this portion of this. And try to graft. Like you said, they don't need to do that.
Yeah.
The customer's more knowledgeable, and the shop that he's going to has a body of work where it's like, well, I don't have to tell them what not to do because I've never seen anything that they've done that I hate, or I wouldn't be here.
Sure.
I think you get to a level of what you're doing that they just trust you. They want a little bit of input, big ticket things, the paint colors maybe, stuff like, some of the things they want to have an influence in, but they've seen you guys work. They've seen my work and other builders as well. And they went there because of how they do it. And they trust that what you're going to do is going to be to their liking because everything else they've seen you've done, they like. Get after it.
It's when you built that first one, the flame truck, where did you debut that truck first?
We debuted that at SEMA. SEMA's was the unveil in the Auto Air booth, and we were playing with some water-based paint way back before everybody started doing water-based paint.
Why?
And,
how did that work out for you back then?
It was still a learning curve.
Yeah.
It fought us some, and it was really the clears just didn't like the water of that time and the binders and stuff in it, so it wouldn't leave a a real gloss, it wouldn't hold out. It would die back real bad and pretty fast.
It'd suck up.
And we painted a couple of pretty big jobs with that, and decided we had to get more knowledge and things figured out more before we did that anymore, because it wasn't working very good. But the colors are vibrant. I mean, that truck, it still gets love. I mean, it's still an iconic truck.
It's an iconic truck.
When we built that truck with Travis, the agreement was I would do all the labor, he would get the parts supplied, and we would supply labor. And so I had to build it on what he could get and still make it be cool if I could. And so
try to find it on your Instagram.
The agreement was for me to get compensation was it would have every month a build story for the months it took to get it done, and then it'd be a cover and a feature. And early on in my career, I decided it was worth doing that, doing the labor for that to trade out for the exposure, and hope that it would knock a home run with the truck, that it would get us a lot of love. And it did.
How did that work at SEMA? I mean, obviously everybody's going crazy about it. Did you get a build there at the show off of that truck?
I get this question a lot from other builders.
Yeah.
But
that's why I asked it. I know everybody's wanting to know.
Phil, you guys build chassis, okay, and cars. But let's say you have a product. When we see Phil and Andrew and Brian all at a show, and they've got chassis out there, you're selling a product, and you can tell somewhat if you sold one chassis or 10 chassis or whatever that it was a successful show to a point or not.
Yep.
In my business, being that we're selling the build, the labor, it may be 2 or 3 years before we know if that show is any good for us. So you hate to cancel it and say, that show wasn't good. We better not do that one anymore. But that might have been the one that we were getting work from. So
we do the same thing with chassis.
Try not to cancel shows out. We just go. We just keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times you've talked to a customer, and I think I talked to you about 7 years ago at the Street Rod Nationals in Louisville.
Right.
And they're buying a chassis now.
Right.
Like it's
not always right now. It's just not.
It's fair.
And I do think if you've got a product and not just chassis, air conditioners or whatever, you can tell something's happening and you feel pretty good about this show. And we talk to people and they sound pretty promising. And some shows we go to, we think it was kind of a dud, and we'll go back and the phone will ring and we'll get a job or two out of it. And some we thought was a great show and we don't get a call out of it at all. So we just go pound the pavement and give everybody the time of day and respect that they stop to talk to us about a build, and let's see what happens.
You are selling, we are selling a product and you're selling a product, but at the same time, there's a lot of good products out there. What you're really selling, specifically at the shows, you're selling yourself, right? You're selling the employees' interaction and the shop's interaction with those customers.
Yes.
And that's what you're selling. That's what the show's interactions are for. Because if somebody says, I want to have an OBS truck built, right? My kids are out of college and now I've got the money. I want to go have a truck. They can search that via the internet and find 25 different places to build them a truck that all have good quality, sometimes similar styles. But the interaction with you and your crew at a show, seeing the big rig, right? That's a badass rig. It's probably tied for the best rig that's out there, right?
Do you know of another one or something?
This could be argued.
Yours is brighter. It's
pretty damn cool.
It's brighter.
Hey,
it's lower.
I already had this conversation with Phil. I said, "Hey man, I seen your rig. It's cool." He said, "Well, you see, we've seen this red one."
Yeah.
That's how he started the conversation, and then he told me about it.
Yeah. Well, but that interaction, and then they interact with your customers. They have that vibe. You have a couple beers at the end of the show. The same thing goes with us and our sales guys and our staff and our company and our customers. You're selling that interaction. Sometimes you just jive, right?
That's right.
And when you jive and you gel and you have a fun time, then the build or the chassis purchase or the relationship is going to be great going forward. Sometimes this shop has a great idea and a great skill set. This guy has a great idea and money. And if they don't jive as people, they shouldn't be spending money together. They shouldn't be doing business together, because if the relationship's not there and you don't click and you don't see eye to eye, it's just going to be bad from then on out, no matter how good of a job either party does. Customer could pay his bills. This guy could be doing a great job. But if you miss on the conversation and
if you didn't enjoy the experience at all, it's kind of what's the purpose?
Yeah, it's relationship. It's friendships.
Where
and
else can you put your product like you guys or like us when we finish one of these builds? A show's about the only place we can actually put in front of you and let you look it over and be the judge if we're the right choice for you as a shop.
Right.
That's the way we look at it. We're going to talk to you, and we're going to try to be the guy that's your best friend. Want you to come here and we all get along and have a great time, like you're saying. But you look at this and tell me if this is what you're after, and we hope they see it and like it.
Talking about shows, did you ever go to Greenville back in the day?
Yeah, 3 times. All 3 of them. The last one was pretty gnarly.
That's why it was the last one.
Exactly where was that?
Greenville, Mississippi. Back in the day, it was a truck show that grew so rapidly.
Fast.
Yeah, rapidly. The only thing that, if you ever knew anything about Texas Heatwave was another one that it lasted longer, but it got carried away for a while too. It didn't get as carried away as Greenville.
Greenville wasn't close to nothing.
Greenville was out in the middle of nowhere, and the first few years, it was like literally the city was like, "We're just glad to have you.
Do what you want.
Just don't burn the place down. Other than that, have at it. Have at it. Daytime, nighttime, whatever." Now, obviously, with a bunch of truck people that
they were respectful,
not respectful, right? Nobody took care of anything. But I probably over romanticize it. But I remember those few years being there. I don't know what your relationship.
I think the locals were what killed it, though. It wasn't the truck crowd coming.
No,
the locals were shooting each other, and
is that what happened? Huh?
It was crazy.
Yeah, there's people getting run over. Stuff.
We seen the mayor of Greenville walking down the center turning lane. It was 4 lanes, 2 on each side, center turn lane, and there was few police cars. And the mayor of Greenville, which was a woman, packing, had a revolver on her hip bigger than
Python. Colt Python.
Out here with a rifle, you know what I'm saying? It was huge, and she's walking around just ready for anybody.
Yeah.
And we said, "Oh man, it's getting pretty thick around here. This is rough."
But there was something I don't know. Bill from Extensive at all.
I do. I know him.
I don't know what your all's relationship, but I remember back then, Extensive rolling in was like that was a thing, right? And he always rolled in hard, right? And he had a stacker with a wedge. I think he had the C5 like dragon rockers on a C5 Vet, and it was a week old. The things just hit the lot, and he's got a bag C5 Vet rolling down. I mean, Hummers on 26s. That was his MO,
though. He would do the first ones that were low like that.
Whatever it was, brand new, and he'd show up to Greenville, and it'd be a stacker and a wedge coming through, and 3 of the brand new. They just launched them, body dropped. Like, holy shit! And that was the kind of stuff. Like, it was a truck show, and it was a different scene than what we're used to. But it was just you saw kind of how to demand a presence, how to come in, but the fun of you'd go to the show late, right? That's totally different than hot rod shows, right? You go in the show late, right? Everybody do their thing, but then nighttime, it was just cruising. It was cruising, and from what you're talking about, like in the boat side of things, that's where the sport truck stuff brought in the women's side, right? There was fun. It's not a good guys deal, right? Okay. You think hanging out at Good Guys Columbus
wasn't a bunch of dudes with fake hair visor
nope.
deals.
It was none of that. No.
Straw hats and
no. It was
pulling a wagon with their 70-year-old dude with the shirt off.
This is what I imagine Havasu is like in Greenville, Mississippi, in the middle of the night, in the middle of a 4-lane road, of everything, from OBSs to dualies to Hummers to everything, big wheels, bagged, lowered. But you did, again, I know that where we have all come to fabrication wise is light years beyond what anybody was doing there. But you did see from a problem solving and an engineering and a fabrication things starting to come through. And there's lots of people that have made it that are still big name that came from there. But you start seeing some sheet metal fab, and you start seeing some chassis design, and you start seeing, a lot of stuff. You're like, oh, it's being pushed to the next level. But it
had to keep up in it to be noticed.
Yeah,
for sure. Even like today,
fun
it's the
time,
same way.
Fun times. Shame it didn't last. There's got to be, we've heard Troy and Tim talk about, how crazy that, DeCoin was and Street Machine Nationals and stuff like that. There's got to be
that somewhere.
There's got to be that somewhere for us now. There's got to be a hot rod show.
Yeah, we should. You know what we should do is
do it at Triple Crown.
No, we need to do like a quick pop up. Like we could have just gone to L.A. last week and popped up a little hot rod show in downtown.
Yeah,
been that way.
Probably not.
We could be burning cars down.
Probably not the right time for us to be there. No.
Just change the whole attitude there, make it a truck show and a hangout.
Do burnouts and intersections. Dude, you could do it all right there.
I know.
People are shooting.
It's different vibe. I'm looking for a different vibe.
Yeah, I don't know if you can get away with it today.
But what show is that today?
Yeah, it's
Triple Crown. Triple Crown is a hell of a show. Super high quality of vehicles stuff, but I don't see that being a heat wave or a Greenville where it was as good a time during the day as it is in the night, and everybody's there just to have fun and do their thing. As far as
I think we just need to take it over.
I think the problem is, dude, you don't realize, like, we've all grown up. If you're not out there with your shirt off and cheetah hair anymore.
No.
Right?
I can be, as long as we get in bed by about 9:30,
9:45. Yeah. Now it'd be like an albino cheetah with all the fucking gray ass hair. Times have changed.
It has. It has.
But I don't like it.
No. No, but I mean, maybe you enjoy the show because, to your point, Triple Crown's a great show. That's a show I look forward to. I do too. I like going. I like hanging out, but yeah, I don't know. Do we really need the burnouts and the like?
So you're trying to be mature.
I don't know if I'm just thinking out loud here.
Well, I get that the burnout thing is probably much for this this time and this era, right? We all have grown up, but I just miss cruising. Some of my greatest memories was cruising.
Yeah, that I could see.
Because I'm with you. Like, we would go. I grew up in Georgia, north of Atlanta area, and every single weekend was cruising. Like, we would go to different towns, like you talked about, just to cruise, and different towns on Friday night, different towns on Saturday, different towns on Sunday. Everything was different. Back in the day, it was Sunday was Stone Mountain, right? You'd cruise Stone Mountain. And then even when I moved to Birmingham, we did the same thing on Saturday nights. You'd have some street racing involved in that, but you would go and cruise and we'd go to Panama City for spring break for like 4 weeks out of the year, right? So we'd hit like Georgia spring break, we'd hit Alabama spring break, we'd hit college spring break, we'd hit Mississippi spring break. So every weekend we were down there and just cruising, Greenville, just cruising. Like, there was something about just everybody in their vehicles cruising by. I don't know. I just, maybe I'm old and I'm being nostalgic. I'm being that guy. I miss cruising. We should all go cruise. I miss cruising. It was so much fun. College, that's what we did. That's how you met people. That's how you did what you do on your phone today, cruising and hanging out in the parking lots and talking about it instead of being on social media. That was it. And you built, I'm not saying it was better, but you built something completely different when cruising was such a big part of what you were going to do with that vehicle. Because one, a big stereo mattered because you were cruising and you want everybody to hear it. Number two, as long as you could roll straight, it didn't matter if the wheels had to turn, but you could roll straight and just,
You're right.
just if you could just drag the tag. I was never a rip the roll pan kind of guy off, right? I was never into tearing the truck up. But if we could just put a couple magnesium blocks on the rear, right? I could throw a little bit of sparks. I could drag the tag and bend the corners and stuff like that, and roll straight. It didn't matter. Like that was good.
Dude, I think everything you're explaining, as you're explaining this, and you're talking about being old, all I'm seeing is Billy Madison rolling into high school with the REO Speedwagon and the 78
Yes.
Trans. I think that's
I just
you,
want
dude.
to
I think you remember
it's a midlife crisis.
Yeah, you remember it. It was really cool. But you now in a hammered OBS dragging on titanium blocks with a thumping stereo system, just cruising through Mundelein. Maybe not that cool, dude. It might not.
Jay, you're with me though, Jay. You would do it, right?
I'm with you.
Okay.
Hell, I still
Good.
do that, so it's got to be cool.
But there's a different way of doing it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
right.
you jump in the cars we build today. It's cool. Like it's awesome. But
I know.
But again,
Well, and the technology of today, what we can build, is so much better.
Yeah, they're gonna stay
That's-
cool. You
that's
can turn the
cool
air
in its
on;
own
they
way.
won't overheat.
Yeah.
So like that. But we don't go cruise.
No.
We just
Well,
go drive them, enjoy them. We need to cruise.
I'm jaded to it as well. Like sheltered from it is the word is. We didn't have that wasn't a thing. Again, in the Midwest, we'd have like little, like pop up cruise nights they'd call them, where you'd go to like Dog and Suds, little hot dog stand or something.
But you would just go park, right?
Yeah, you would just go park. You'd roll
You'd
in,
hang out.
and I was a teenager at a '69 Camaro, and you'd sit a little lower in the seat. You'd foot cam that thing just a little bit to make it feel like that car was getting away from you as you're coming through the parking lot because it's got so much fucking horsepower you just can't handle it, right? It's the 450 horsepower, and then you park it. You'd open the hood, and there was some 65-year-old dude that would limp over there and be like, "A crate motor." Like, yeah, man. And that
Yeah,
was,
what do you think?
Yeah, that was
Come
the
on.
extent of it. Or either that or me and my buddy Fenn, we just go cruise around town, and talk about picking up chicks. You never picked up any chicks, but nobody gave a shit that you're just driving some old smelly car that.
So you
fucking loud,
went to Panama City and done
That
cruising,
I did.
right?
So that was my experience. It was cool.
But that was every single week on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But when I'm talking about cruising, I'm talking about running through an entire tank of gas in one night, and probably
20
only
miles an hour.
and only probably put 15 miles or 20 miles on the odometer.
Yeah.
But you're sitting in traffic that long, you're idling that
Cruising.
much gas out of it, and then running a CD so much he runs a groove in it. Like you've wore that CD out. If you can wear a CD out and run through a tank of gas and keep it under 50 miles, you've cruised. That's cruising.
Yeah, I know
But are we still cruising today? But we do it at 100 instead because we're doing road tours. And it's
I
still
know.
Cruising, but
Yeah.
our cruising speed's just 100 now. Is that the deal?
But I can't hear what you're listening to, right? I can't pass you in oncoming
True,
traffic,
true.
right? I
Yeah.
love doing the
I
road
bet you
tours.
can guess what I'm listening to, though, pretty close.
Yes,
Just
I'm
because-
looking behind you. 100%. Man.
I love doing the road tours, and I definitely think that we've talked about it ad nauseum.
That's as close as we get to what you're talking about. I
Changed
think.
everything.
Road tours.
But I think that we need to. Maybe we should just start doing it at the shows. We should start. There's a small group of people that cruise at Columbus. It's like that. Maybe we should just get out and start cruising the shows.
All right. Set it up, man. I'll be there. I'll do it.
We're gonna bring it back.
Yeah.
As long as it's before 5:30.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotta go to bed.
Yeah, we got to get a little dinner. You got to get in bed. I don't want to be
Gotta get
hungover
some
the next
dinner.
day.
I fully admit that this is a midlife crisis problem for me, and I'm reliving old. Like I want the bikini chicks in the bed of the truck that we pass that like what we're listening to, that hop out of that truck and jump in our truck, and then we meet back up. That's the cruising that I want.
Yeah, but dude, the reality
Yes.
is you're at the age now. where
I
like,
know.
"Did you see
Stop!
that?
Don't
Did you
say
see
don't say
Quit
not
bringing up
hurtful
my
things.
age.
dirty old.
I know how old I
You're
am.
staring at us.
It's just a memory. All right,
yeah.
I'm just reliving. I know it'll never happen.
It's gonna be the fucking 65-year-old chick at the Waffle House that comes out. That's like,
Hey.
I like that ride.
Yeah, you're kind of hot.
Take me for a ride, will you?
That would also be cool.
My grandson's got one of them.
Hold it to the end.
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
times have
That's
changed,
hilarious.
my friend. Times have changed.
All right, so we're back to the truck builds, right? So stuff starts rolling. You having people call in, like you said, it doesn't happen that night, but you you have a great SEMA, you have a launch, you're starting to get your name out there, you're starting to have the look, right? People start recognizing what you're building stuff. What's the next big one after that, where someone's like, I know it starts stair-stepping, but I want to go through that stair-step as the customer and the budget and the builds and the level of difficulty continue to increase?
That's a tough question. I have to think hard.
Well, it's probably still increasing.
What we did right after that one. Then we kind of got off the page of squares and CKs, and seemed like things were changing at about that time to me, and we were doing more. It seemed like the scene was going more to good guys to me, and we probably the next big one that really stands out to me was we built that 56 Ford for Travis also.
Yep.
And it went to SEMA also, and it won Truck of the Year with Good Guys.
That's a big
deal. So that
deal.
was the first time we had won anything, as big as that award. I mean, hell, we got a toolbox. Who gets toolboxes? And then we figured out everybody gets one when they win. So it's,
Yeah.
But it was cool. That was a big deal.
Did you get the toolbox or Travis get the toolbox?
I got the toolbox.
Oh, good for you.
When they came and told us we were going to be
50-50 how that works.
I told him, if we win Truck of the Year, my only payment for this truck, because I did the same thing with him through the magazine, I said, is I keep the toolbox. And he said, that's only fair. And Travis I don't want to say it like he's not here anymore. He's still with us. But Travis is a good guy. And we had a lot of good memories together doing these trucks, and we still reminisce when we run into each other at Dino's. He was at Dino's this past year. I see him at those big events like that. He's there, and we still talk, and it always comes back around to Red Rocker. Always.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I could be misremembering this story, but I don't know if this has ever happened before. It probably has. There's been some other customers. When I was at Jonathan's, I'm pretty sure it was the low car Camaro when we got the toolbox there. I think Debbie Walls from Low Car paid Good Guys for another toolbox. So there's two of them. So we got one and she got one.
I've heard of that happening.
Yeah, I've heard of a few people doing that.
Barry's done that, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, no, Barry didn't give it to us.
I know.
He took the toolbox.
He took the toolbox.
But somebody's done it. We lost one.
I think Travis did it.
Did he? Yeah, I could see it.
So.
I could see it. We lost one that's now just gone into the abyss, thanks to Brian.
Which one did we lose?
So we had it was a really special car we did. We built a 32 Ford Roadster, and it was a project that I worked on like intimately with an older guy. It was his retirement project. He was Al Nagel. Yeah, he was a retired engineer from Motorola. So remember the little StarTAC cell phone? That tiny little flip phone. He engineered that. He designed that. That was all. It was his patent and everything.
Did it have the antenna you pulled up?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you had to pull that up before you.
Yeah, you did. And he was the most unassuming guy you ever met in your life. He'd come in with his hat down like over his head, just a mess. His pants pulled up like to the middle of his chest, and he'd carry a briefcase, like an old hard briefcase. Well, he was a old school engineer. He designed every single piece on that car. I mean, it was. I think we worked on it for 10 to 12 years. And it was just
that was the Champagne 32 Roadster. That was a great 8.
I remember it.
Yeah. He entertained himself with it. And he would design everything. I mean, you'd go in his garage. He'd have full scale hand drawn prints of the car and everything. And he only got to drive the car one time. I didn't even think he really cared to drive the car. It was more about
the experience
in creating it. And I had a good time with it. People would be like, "Man, here's Al driving you nuts," and I'm like, "No, man, I spent thousands of hours with this guy, and I understood him. It was like we just jived. It was like a Milo and Otis type relationship. It's total polar opposites, but we just jived. So he ended up passing away, and I facilitated getting the car sold for his wife, and just all because I had such a good relationship with the guy. We did it all just free of charge. I brought the car back. I fixed all the little remaining things. They lived semi-local, like 30, 40 minutes from the shop. And, ran the car through Barrett Jackson, had the car detailed at Barrett Jackson, covered all the expenses, and just handed her the check when it came. And all I wanted out of it was when we went to go get the car, he had that old toolbox there because it won Hot Rod of the Year, Street Rod of the Year.
Street Rod d'Elegance.
Something.
Yeah.
So Brian goes there to get it. And I said, Brian, did you I gave him instructions and everything. Comes back. I said, did you get the toolbox? Oh, no. I told I said, you should hang on to this toolbox. This is something I really think you should have. Well, she didn't give a shit about the toolbox. Ended up like selling it to his brother or something to just use as a fucking toolbox. I'm like, dude, that meant a lot to
really
me, right?
it.
Just to use it. It's just a fucking toolbox to him. To me, it meant that
So that's a loss for Brian.
It's a loss. It's a loss for Brian. Ultimately, it's a loss for me. It was one of those things. I had such a relationship with the guy. It meant something to me that I wanted that in my garage. Now it's gone.
Yeah, you don't know if it's gone. It could be being used. It might be. Maybe it comes back.
Maybe it'll come full circle.
Yeah, it'll be a little wore out, but it'll come back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Scratched, chipped.
Right. Yeah, I'll see it on Facebook Marketplace in like Southern Illinois. I think that's where it ended up. But yeah, they carry a lot of weight. Those toolboxes.
The toolboxes do. They do. All right, build stuff. Stuff starts going. It's not been that long since you did your first Roadster Shop chassis. What's it been? 4 years ago? 5 years ago?
Yeah, I would say 5, 6.
You've been the first of a lot of
them,
too.
You know what got me to convinced to do it was Goolsby. Jenny.
Really?
Jenny sat so good to me, wheels, tire, stance, but that truck sat so good. We were at Des Moines, and I talked to Goolsby, and he talked about how it rode, and then we went together and drove it, and it was amazing. It's a game changer when you see the stance and stuff. That's a game changer. But then you go ride in it, and that's a totally different game changer. Then now we can be this low and not have to worry about anything. It clears everything, and it rides at our cruising speed now, which we've determined is 100, like amazing. So I went over and talked to Phil and said, what would it take? What I got to do to get a chassis built for a CK to sit like Jenny? He honestly said, somebody like you to want one. And I said, I want one. I'm your guy. He said, we'll start working on it. We'll design this. We're going to do it. And I said, I think it'd be awesome for us to get to do the first one. And I promise you I won't let you down. I think we've got enough reputation with trucks and stuff that it'll be cool.
Yep.
And you guys were unveiling the giveaway truck, I believe, the following show at Columbus, as we had talked about that at Des Moines. And so I seen it, and I thought, man, I just can't wait to get this chassis because it looks good. This is going to be good. And so he got it to me. We had an agreement that if he got it to me at a certain time, that I would have it at that first event of Good Guys and unveil it and make it to where we all got some play out of it. Y'all got the love of it. It was out in the first OBS chassis there, and we got a lot of exposure out of it because people realized that you guys have done it, and now we finished one. So that was the first one. And then I sold that truck to a guy that just he like me, he just thought it was perfect in every way. And I told him the only reason I sell it to you is because I want to build a Tahoe, and I want to have the first Tahoe out that is on a Roadster Shop spec chassis. And so I sold it, and as soon as I sold it, I went around to y'all's booth and told Phil, I want the first Tahoe chassis. I want to build a chassis. And he said, okay, let's do this again. And I said, I've got an idea for it. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to kind of throw it back to the days when we were doing them in the 90s, and I want to throw some colors at it like that. But basically all the stuff we would have done then if we could have, that technology is so good now that we can, I want to do that. But I want it to feel like a 90s build of sort. And so we did. And now we've done another one, which I think you guys have probably seen, the red one that we've done. Yeah. And that one I wanted to go even more hardcore to the 90s, that I called Chris. and said, "Man, I want you to build me a set of wheels like your dad's, and I want to put some Coddington, some boys on there, and but be 2212s and 20s and the stuff we couldn't have done. But I want it to be that old school looking wheel, but with graphics." And he said, "Absolutely." So we did it again. And now I've got, I think I have 5 chassis of yours at the shop right now that have come in that we're building on. And I've got 3 on order, I believe is what we have right now. One of them is even an RS4, which is totally off the rail of what we've been talking about this whole time about being low and cool. But there's a lot of forward drive stuff going on that's cool. That's why you guys are doing the chassis, I'm assuming.
The forward drive stuff's gotten crazy.
Cool. It is.
The amount of builders and the amount of different styles. And, I mean, I think everybody's looking at it as like a breath of fresh air. It's like something else. Like, all right.
Something different.
Yeah, something different.
Yeah,
we can take,
for sure.
And you can take a little bit of these pieces from these styles that we've been doing, a little bit of these pieces, and you can just, it's another thing to learn about. It's another thing to explore. It's another thing to, obviously everybody that's out there, we talked about geeking out over tire sizes. We've talked about before geeking out over interior things. We've talked about inspiration from all different types of stuff, from architecture to ski boots to everything. When you start venturing off into a different style of build than you've never done before, you have to consume that knowledge again, right? You have to dig off into, like, why did they call it Napco? Where did the Napco stuff come from? Where did this go? And then you start going down a rabbit hole of this. Then you start going on, and it's exciting again. It's exciting to learn again, because we should always do that. But if you start doing, after a while, you don't have to go and dig the knowledge. You've got the knowledge in your head. If it's another Camaro, you've kind of got the 50 files in your head. You're like, all right, do this, do this, do this. Not that it's not a bad thing, right? But it's there.
It's like another genre of music. And you look at music artists, and tons of them. Like, I mean, shit. Fuck Kid
Taylor
Rock.
Swift.
Well, I wasn't going to use Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Miley Cyrus.
Hey, those are all examples.
Hanson.
But who's the fucking Post Malone and Kid Rock? Those are both dudes that are like rock and roll guys and hip hop guys and other country music guys. And it's like anything else. It just progresses. And if you're a lover of the art, you just explore the next genre. Yeah. And I think that's in its infancy still. It's fun to watch it evolve. You're just now starting to see really high-end 4x4 trucks come out, and it's just going to keep going and going and going. It's so fresh.
I will still. Yes, we have, patting ourselves on the back. We have done a very good job of pushing the envelope on the amount of different chassis and platforms that are available. However, I still go back and give Andy Leach some credit with that Bronco.
Yeah.
For having
20 years ahead.
And I like Andy. I don't know how much credit I can give him versus the customer that came in and was like, you know what I want to do? I want to spend a shit ton of money on building a Riddler level Bronco. Because it's cool, but you show up and you're like, holy fuck, look at that.
Yeah.
Wow. But it made people's minds start.
Again, it's just like music. Everybody remembers Elvis for birth of rock and roll. I'm sure there was somebody that fucking was playing rock and roll.
There was a lot of people.
Yeah,
he got the credit that he didn't deserve. He was great, but he
didn't invent rock and roll.
He misappropriated some styles.
He just hit it at the right time when it was popular.
Right.
So
yeah,
he did his style.
Yeah,
he did,
which we all do. Andy Leach does his style. I do my style. You guys do your style. The quality of what you're doing is still as good as you can do it. You're trying to be that, but there's things that you do that make it unique for you.
What would you consider?
Go ahead.
Oh, you're talking about styles. What would you consider billet extensive style today? You don't have to answer that. I'm trying.
I saw Bill this past weekend.
Really?
I did. We went to a little show in Clovis, New Mexico, which is called Dragon Main. And it's kind of a cruise and a hangout on Friday and a cruise on Saturday. They have a show on Saturday, and we've gone for the past 7 years or so. And they brought in the one-way diesel guys and Bill as kind of the celebrity draw, I guess. They like to bring someone in that's in the car world. And he was there. We hung out quite a bit on Friday night.
I don't know him at all. Like, never have spoken to him. He wouldn't know.
TV show guy, right?
Yeah, he's got the Texas
Metal.
Texas Metal.
Yes.
I just know him from back in the day and being a fan, and he was a trendsetter and a groundbreaker in that scene. And then we go different directions and stuff, and now seeing him resurface, it's different than what I had envisioned in my head for him in the future. But that's just is what it is. I mean, he could punch me in the face tomorrow, and
I hope he does.
I know you do.
A lot the same still, because I used to hang out with him some at Heat Wave, and then we went to see him a few times that they had brought in some big stuff, and he would have an extensive after-hour party at Hard Rock, and I would go to that, and I think he seems a lot the same. He's just like us. He's gotten older, and things have changed some, but I still think Bill's the same Bill to me. He seemed just like he used to be. Different worlds we all go to, but his style was always different.
Yeah.
Than ours, but we all come together for the same reason, and that's because we like what we do, and we like to admire what other people are building and see we can pick up on something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking about Barrett Jackson, that's a little different from your standard like shows that you're going to, but you've been doing it for the last few years, and I mean, you've done really well there. I think it's important to talk about that. People that haven't done it, specifically people that haven't exhibited at it, and experienced that nighttime. You're talking about cruising and talking about the nighttime. It's not cruising, but if you haven't done it, that's a fucking a fun time and a vibe.
It's a party.
Yeah, it's a party.
It's a party.
Yeah. A little nerve-wracking party when you're in your position.
It can make you nervous when it's your turn to go across the block.
Party for me where I'm just standing back watching your stuff roll through the line. Well, I hope he does good.
You're going to celebrate whether we do good or not, right? You're just there for the party.
Yeah, we've gotten ours handed to us before.
Yeah. Never terrible.
I'd made the decision with Ed Capon. He hit me up a few times at different events, in particularly Dino's, and I told him that last time before I decided to do it. You pitch your pitch at me why I should be at Barrett Jackson. And honestly, I don't want it to sound like I'm anti-SEMA, because SEMA's always great, but SEMA has always seemed to me like, especially with social media like it is now, that I honestly hate to unveil something new at SEMA and then it has 5 months to go stale through the winter with everybody putting it all over the internet. Yeah. And when you come out in the spring with it to rock it, I saw that, it's been everywhere. It's not cool. I would rather unveil in the spring and go all year with it and finish at SEMA. So I was kind of getting a little bit where I wasn't thinking SEMA was the best place for me to go and unveil because it got old news. So when Ed started talking about it, and he told me the numbers of how many people there. I said, yeah, but that don't mean they're buying cars. And then he told me how much money's on the books as far as people who have already got credit on the books ready to purchase while they're there. And they have a bidder number, and all they have to do is raise their hand and they can buy it.
Yep.
And it was astonishing how much money is in the room. And he said, it's up to you to bring what they want to buy. That's the only deal. And he had a point. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? It's expensive. It is. The booth's expensive. The stay for 10 days at a VRBO or something is expensive. But I decided I would kill SEMA that year and go to that instead and just see what would happen. And we built that one truck, that beige and white one, and it was 85 K10, and decided we would throw everything at it that we could as far as the quality parts, LT, 8-speed, Atlas transfer case, all the stuff a guy that knows anything about a four-wheel drive would be looking for. And hope that we didn't lose our butts on it, But I told the guys, I think people know what they're looking at, and if they look at it, then I think we're okay. We can come out on this. And so we went, and the person who was really just about sick about the time that we rolled up on that Friday evening on that one was Jimmy, the interior guy. And he was just pacing and nervous. He said, man, I can't stand this. And I said, you got hardly anything in the game here, really. He's got some interior because he worked with us to do it for a percentage of what we did.
Sure.
But he was going to get a certain amount of money either way. So he had a guarantee. I said, I don't have any guarantee. And really, I'm excited. I wasn't nervous, and I don't know why, but I just thought, we're on this big stage, and we're going to roll across at primetime TV time, and the room's full, and let's swing for the fences and see what happens. And it all came out really, really good for us. So we went
cool.
back.
Did it again. It's a hell of an experience, man. I've been across the auction block a number of times, and I mean, shit, it happens fast. It's like walking into a prize fight. For one,
Yeah.
Like you walk in there and it's like the crowd's
Like being in
going,
the Coliseum.
and then it's like all of a sudden you're thinking it's going to be this drawn out process. You're gonna see the bidder, and you're gonna see this guy, and you're gonna watch it go.
You can't see anything,
and it is just like it's over. They're pushing the car up. You're like, how much? You're looking up at the screen to see, and you're like, shit.
Well,
or you're like, oh hell yeah.
We've talked about it before, but the excitement, and it's a great show. It's a great week. Everything about it. There's so much there for any type of automotive enthusiast. But it's really funny. We talked about earlier in the podcast about how much more educated the customer is that is having cars built now, and Barrett Jackson in particular is wild. You'll never go to any type of automotive event anywhere in the entire world that has that much of a cross section of all different types, because you've got that educated customer that's either coming with a build to sell, or that is with the shop hanging out that's looking to buy a few cars to build next. You've got the educated investor that has become way more educated over the last 10 years on what cars are about to be hot or what cars are at the peak. Mm-hmm. You've got all of that. I think that's way different than it was 10 years ago. Then you have the I got money, cars, shiny, cool.
Yeah.
Then you've got alcohol. Then you've got
just up there in the skybox waving.
Then you've just got excitement, right? And then you've got all of those that I just described mixed together. And sometimes the educated and the alcohol and the excitement of, it's just a crazy car, clash. Sometimes they go together, and sometimes you see numbers on stuff and you're like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
And you see it both ways. You see it like, lightning just didn't strike, hit then, and then you're like, wow, that's wild what it does. It's just such a...
It's a hell of a show, though.
It's a hell of a time.
It's a good time, I think. As a vendor, that's one thing I will always say. It is a great space. To be a vendor at that venue is phenomenal. Like, yeah, I rave about it. From a sales standpoint. You're in front of all the right people, and you've got people in that environment. It's conducive to spending money, so people are there to buy things, which is maybe a little different than. I think you have more people that are there as registered bidders preparing to spend money than maybe you do at a Good Guys show. A lot of people are there just for entertainment. So, you might be the entertainment for 75% of the people, and 25% of them are potential buyers. Whereas Barrett Jackson, it's probably the opposite of that.
Well, and then you've got a lot of builders there too that then have the time to come by the booth and talk about the build, where they might not have that if they were at Good Guys because they're working their booth or they're dealing with their customer or they're showing their vehicle and stuff like that. They don't have the time. It's a very unique. That's unlike anything else. Barrett Jackson that week is it's a fun time. It really is.
I approached that too, that first one, with probably different thoughts than some, but
because you believed all of Ed's bullshit. One, I mean,
well, you get through with him on the first move-in day, then you don't talk to him much anymore.
Oh, Ed, I love you.
I kept telling Jimmy, and I kept telling Kyle and Colby, the guys that go with us a lot to these deals, that My thoughts on that was we have to appeal to the masses. We're not trying to build something that just stands out from everything, or it's got to be the right colors. It's got to be the certain height that I kept telling them the wife has to like this.
Yep.
And many times you're there and the guy's there and his wife, and he's, what do you think about this? And then if she doesn't like it, we're already out. So I kept thinking if the wife would like these choices in the stripe for the stripe on the square body, or how tall it was. I didn't want to be too tall. I made sure it had amp boards so that they would get down so they could get in it. It's tall, but I like it, but I can't get in it. That's not going to sell.
Yep.
So everything was a thought about appealing to the majority of the people there, not just the way I wanted it, or maybe two people. I wanted it to be for hundreds so I'd have a chance.
Yeah, it's a wild, wild atmosphere. Like you see certain recipes that look like you can kind of repeat them, that they work. And then there's the freak factor stuff that I always see. It's like, if it's got fucking 6 wheels and smokestacks and like it goes through at the right time. Some stuff.
Kudos to Richard Rawlings on that damn Hummer.
Yeah.
I'm good for him, but you could have gave me 20 tries to bet on what that would have gone for, and I would have missed every single time. That was insane.
Insane.
And then there's some people where that certain recipe, it works every time, and it's bringing $500,000 2 years in a row, and then it brings half that. There's no sure thing.
No.
Yeah. But you've got the right idea. I mean, you've got to... You either make something that's so fucking radical that it's just wild and freak factor that somebody's got to have it, or you've got to really appeal to the masses. Because you got, like, we went there with the patinaed Legend truck, and it did well, but I'll bet you it would have done twice what it did if it was painted. Because as it's going across the auction block, you've got, sure, a lot of people know who the Roadster Shop is, but there are plenty of people who didn't. I was listening to some of the comments, and I hear one guy say, it's just got to be the biggest piece of shit that's gone across here all day. If I can think of the fucking paint on this. And I'm like,
yeah,
dude.
It's original. There's no rust.
There's a lot of killer work underneath that and under the hood.
Yeah.
But yeah, not everybody understands that.
But it's a wild experience, and it's nothing, nobody should shy away from it. But it is wild to see when you could have $2 million builds, right? From Street Machine of the Year winners to whatever it is, to identical quality, very similar money, and an interior color to an exterior color difference between the two could sway them $700,000-800,000 in sale price.
Yeah.
And that's what's wild, right? It's where it's the direct correlation to money spent versus the quality of the builds sometimes isn't exactly there. And it doesn't have to be. That's just, it is what it is. You need to know what you're getting into going up front. But like you said, if 2 or 3 people love that car, you're good. If the one guy is like, that's for me, then you maybe not so good for him.
No one's bidding against him. It's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a fun time.
And you got a fine line there of where you put enough in it that it is worth having and looking at, and somebody wants it, and you can still make money on it. You have to be careful, very careful.
The dude that bought Troy and Brad's Firebird, like that dude got a deal.
He got a deal. It happens.
Deal. Absolutely. It's what it is. You know going into it. What are you building next? What's coming down the pipe?
We got a few CKs going that are coming out. We've got a CUDA that's very close, that's fixing to go to interior. That's a really cool car. We've got a 60 Corvette that's similar to that kind of champagne colored one we did, but it's white. That's very close. People know us for trucks. You guys know me for trucks, but when you come in the shop, there's probably 50-50 or maybe even leaning more toward cars than trucks.
Wow.
Being built. But we do truck events, so that's what we take a lot of the times. A lot of the cars we finish, no one ever sees them. They're not building it to take to a show. They just want to have it at home when they get done, and it never gets seen. And it's funny how many people think that's all we do is trucks. But
Hey, it doesn't matter.
you
If you
don't.
build those cars and the customers are happy, that's what pays for your rare Kiss
That's right.
memorabilia collection behind you.
Work is work. Hey, that's my second passion. My Kiss collection, which I'm sure y'all probably heard a little bit about it. I know Jeremy's been around, he knows, but
Yeah.
I'm a diehard Kiss fan. I have been a Kiss fan since I was 12, and that was a long time ago.
I remember we came by your house on the road tour. It was,
Yep, remember?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
man, the space you've built there
He's got a spread.
is
It's
fucking awesome. That's something I like seeing when like hot rod builders are so creative and do some really neat shit. And to see what you've created just in your home space is as cool as looking at your cars. I mean, the way you've laid that out, dude, that is a neat space.
Thank you. Well, we're here when we're not on the road at these shows, then we're in the backyard and out here hanging out. This is our spot, our vacation spot or whatever you want to call it. This to us is where we finally get to go relax and hang out. And I can come in here and crank up the volume and go to the other shop over there, which is on the other side.
Yep.
And I have about 14 cars in there that I can go clean on or play with or work on. And I put in a golf room. I don't remember if that was in here when you guys came.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
I put a building on the south end and I put a simulator in there because I play some golf. My granddaughter plays really well, a lot of golf. She's 14, but she's shining. She may play some college golf.
That's
got
awesome.
People looking already. So I try to put things in position for her to have a chance. And
That's awesome.
one of them is training in here and then doing what she does out when she plays, and she's doing really well.
Okay, we got to pause and ask about the golf thing because me and Jeremy have gone through all the range of emotions around golf because
Is it good or bad?
well, just 8 to 10 years ago, it was probably one of the things that we made fun of the most was going to lunch and stuff like that and passing the golf course.
Well, it's because we do a certain thing when we pass the golf.
That
What do you do?
we shouldn't
So
talk about that.
We could talk about it.
Okay.
He's
He's a golfer.
All right, so I apologize in advance for this, but we've got a golf course right down the street from the shop. So as we go to lunch, you leave a stoplight, and there you're like right on the green over there. Where the fuck do you tee off from? Is it the green? Is it
The tees.
the tee.
Right where he's teeing, right where the guys are teeing
So
off.
we typically try to time it perfectly so you
Tee
can
box.
get on the horn in the car as soon as that dude's
Right
on
when
it.
they're swinging.
In the
Oh,
middle
right.
of the swing. Yeah.
And we've really gotten some good reactions out of it.
Oh,
It's been years since we've
you've
done
seen
it,
clubs tossed. You've seen everything.
But we've always said there's like a thing about golf where it's like, oh, people are like, do you golf? Oh, no, I'm a car builder. Like car guys and golf guys, it's just two totally opposite things. And recently,
You can do both.
Probably the last 10 months, we noticed probably around the same time, but both didn't want to say anything to each other. And then it kind of got brought up. We're like, we're probably not going to be any good, but we should think about giving that golf thing a try because one,
it's
the appeal in it.
it's the destination of like, you know what? That's something we could just go turn our phones off, go out there and get on the green, on the course
Have some drinks.
for 4 or
Yeah.
5 hours and drink some beer and just bullshit if we're good or not. So now we've been talking about like, man, but like, and we get into hobbies deep, right? But
Just
now
because
it's
you
like,
buy all the shirts and clubs don't make it ready. You know what I mean?
well, that's the whole thing that we're slowing down on the whole whiskey collecting stuff, and it's probably time for the next new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I wish you guys would do it, and here's why. We have a deal going that when we go to say Good Guys or some of these shows, we roll in and we get parked, and Thursday morning we get set up, and we usually have a tea time around 1:00 on Thursday. And we've gotten to where quite a few people that go and are setting up and stuff know about it, and they ask, "Are we playing golf today?" And some will join us.
You're not taking our guys to play golf, are you?
What's that?
You're not taking our guys to play golf, are you?
I wouldn't say anything about it if I did, because I wouldn't keep peace.
Phil Spunk's got a little bit of
Dave
a
and Ken,
golfer kind of look to him.
Oh,
they
yeah.
play on the show.
Yeah.
You've seen them do it. Well, we were in Loveland, and they were playing golf.
Yeah,
And
Dave's got a golfer's body, though. He does.
Yeah, I think we got to give it a shot. It's a tough thing to get into. I feel like at 40 something years old to go out there and I've hit it like
You're going to be good at it, though. I'm not going to be any
I've
good
gone
at
to
it.
like Top Golf, with the family and the kids. I can hit a ball, but
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, that's all you need to do.
I can't aim it at something though. Like it goes
Who
where it
cares?
goes, and I'm
Have
like, you
another
see
beer.
that shit? The fucker almost went out of the over the net. But
Dude, we're getting
aiming it
old.
at something
We're
is
getting
that's a different animal.
It's just really about the fun and the hanging out. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
I think that's what we just need to do it.
Let's give it.
It's a
shot.
destination thing. It's something to go do. And
Yeah. Hey, you smoke cigars, you drink.
Yep.
Well, we got golfer friends. We'll bring somebody. They'll show us the ropes, and I've never. Well, I take that back. I've been to a golf course one time, like but
to do golf.
yeah, to do golf years and years ago. Let's do it. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
You don't do golf, you play golf.
Play golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go play it. We're gonna go do golf.
We got to get the lingo right first.
Okay. Yeah, we're playing golf.
We're gonna play it. Yeah. All right, it's standard question time. Where are we going with first? We'll go simple first. Well, I'm gonna change it up. Favorite Kiss album? If you could only listen to one album, which one?
Kiss Alive 1.
Okay.
How about song? What's the go-to?
Song is, I like Strutter. And it's not one of the most played, but if you know it, you know it. To me, Strutter's probably one of the best songs of all time.
How many times have you seen him play?
I would say 35.
Ooh.
I went to New York and seen them on the final show. Had their farewell, their big this is the road, and I wanted to see them at the last show, and I went to New York and seen them in Madison Square Garden for the last show. I've seen them in Detroit at Cobo Hall, which is where they recorded Alive One. I've been all over. We traveled just to go see Kiss when they were playing like that.
Hey, that's crazy because we also saw Guns N' Roses in their last ever show. And then,
they're back.
Well, the month after that, they announced they were coming back. After we saw
Now, like, Axl Rose
Kiss
lost
has
a bunch
never
of
done
weight.
that.
Now he's playing good and singing good and shit, or better.
better.
Yeah. I do like Kiss though. There's a lot of good Kiss songs on the Dazed and
On the radio?
Confused. When you talk about, we're going to move into favorite car movie. Well, Dazed and Confused is up there, but there's a lot of good Kiss songs on that.
Yeah.
In that movie, on that album.
Kiss has got great ballads, great car driving ballads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Favorite car movie?
I'd probably say Gone in 60 Seconds for me. I like all the companionship he finally admits to me with the cars when he walks in. They say, "Hello, Porsche."
Yeah.
They're just, it's like a love relationship. Soon as he sees it, and then they steal that car, and then the whole movie's about that. But to me, that I like this car, and this is on the list. We got to get this car. That's pretty cool. A lot of cool cars.
If we were better at doing this podcast, we would have kept track of all these answers, and somebody could go back and.
It'd be a lot of work. Go back and
you could,
tally it.
but somebody could do it. Somebody could do it. I tell you what, if a listener wants to go back and tally up,
Oh, you're asking a lot.
I'm not saying they have to, but if they were to go and tally up the top 5 answered best favorite movies, right, and give us a count, right, then there's an untold amount of riches that we would bestow upon them, because there's giveaway stuff down here that we should have already given away that we haven't.
We'd give him that stuff.
We would give them all that stuff.
Okay. It's a secret.
There's
it's a surprise.
There is off camera here. There's a
some shit on there.
tremendous. This would be a prize pack
Okay.
that would rival all prize
Just
packs.
a nicely curated surprise pack.
It may or may not have
It's
to
the
come
Sir
truck freight.
prize pack.
It is the Sir of prize packs. Yeah. If somebody wanted to do, but I say all that to say, I bet you that Gone in 60 Seconds is in top 3, if not top 2.
Yeah.
It's a sleeper. It gets brought up a lot of times. We don't talk about it a lot, but it gets brought up a lot.
It's a really
that
good
and
movie.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fast and Furious and Gone in 60 Seconds might be like neck and neck for.
Ford versus Ferrari is just surprisingly low volume of people that bring it up.
It does.
Because it's got to be
What a good movie.
It's got to be
great
one of the
movie.
best
Yeah, it's a
produced,
good movie.
most accurate movies. Maybe it's just a little too mainstream. I don't know. Good movie though.
It does. It's not been around long enough to build up the memories in your head, right? And people don't want to say a new modern movie, but it's a great car
And it
movie.
doesn't have Angelina Jolie in her prime
does
in
not.
it either.
Whatever happened to her?
I think she went a little crazy or something, didn't she?
Billy Bob and her went crazy.
Yeah.
He came back from the dark side, but she stayed on it. All right, next up. I'm going to ask you about your most memorable law enforcement interaction story. But if that story has spoilers about your first car, then we need to pivot.
Because we're guessing first.
We're gonna go first car. I don't know if we can guess yet, but does your most memorable law enforcement interaction story have any teasers about your first vehicle?
No.
Okay.
I never got pulled over in my first vehicle.
Okay. So then go ahead.
I should have.
Tell us your most memorable law enforcement cop story.
Mine would be, and it's not that exciting, but it was here in town. They were doing some construction over where they were adding some new highway. And I had exited and was coming around, and I was speeding. Not so much, but for the work zone and everything, I was probably 40 miles over.
What were you in?
I was in a square body pickup, and it was a cool truck, so it would turn heads. So I got pulled over, and he was there at the turn waiting, so I didn't even have to go far. When I seen the lights come on, I knew it was me. I just pulled over, and he came up behind, and he said he clocked me at 70 and a 30 or whatever it was. It was a lot. But I told him, with all this construction, I didn't even know it's new change of lanes and stuff. I didn't know. And he said, well, I'm going to have to give you a citation for this. And so he went and he went through it all, and he gave it to me. And I'm thinking, oh man, I can't take defensive driving for this. I can't, I'm stuck. And I rolled up the window and was about to leave. And as I started to pull up to get on the road, he flipped his siren again. His lights were still on. And I kind of looked, and he was pointing for me to pull over again. So I pulled over again, and he came back up, and he said, hey, give me that ticket. And I said, excuse me? And he said, I know who you are. He said, it's a cool truck. He said, I was mic'd up when I first pulled you over, so I had to do it. But now I've turned the mic off. I can turn it up and throw it away. And I got off of that deal.
Damn.
And it was just lucky because it was either a cool truck, and he knew me because of the shop. And I was in work clothes. I had on Hills Hot Rod stuff. But yeah, I got away with it because, but I didn't think I was going to. When he left, I was like, oh shit. And then he came back to him, give me that. It's over. I'll take it.
That's a good one.
It was all right.
Just so you know, I understood it, but you know what? A siren, that means that was the siren. That was the loud part. We call it siren down in the South, right? Yeah. It's louder than what it is in the North. A siren is way louder than what y'all's siren is. Yeah. Yeah, these sirens that's just these northern Yankee sirens. They just
it's different in the north and the south.
Yeah, they go woo 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 woo. But a siren starts hollering at you. All right.
Sucks that you caught up on that.
I learn all sorts of interesting Southern vocabulary on this podcast, mainly from Josh.
Probably.
You give me a lot of shit, but I've taken you on adventures, and I've told you about things, and then later on they come to fruition in real life.
Yeah.
In tows, for example. You thought I was full of shit on in tows.
I've learned I don't doubt you anymore.
I guarantee you he's seen in tow vehicles in Lubbock, Texas.
Absolutely.
Have you ever seen 4 at a time?
Yes, headed to Mexico.
Yeah.
See,
Thank you.
Is it just that
Is it the same?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the end toes I'm talking about.
we just don't
Yeah.
see? I think we're just
Headed
sheltered.
south, further south.
I mean, coming up here, would you say that is it just that there's no little like nuances or like Midwest specific things like there are down south? I mean, I feel like the only two things that I've taught you about is that it's just called a fucking winter hat. It's not called a toboggan.
Yeah,
It's a winter hat.
I've learned that.
And how to
my whole family's learned that.
and how you order a hot dog, like how you prepare a hot dog.
The hot dog ordering thing is probably the
But
single.
the only two things
it's
I
the
feel
sing-
like that are
Well, no, there's been all kinds of
Midwest
things.
specific?
Jardiniere. Jardiniere is definitely a crazy thing. We don't have that
Yeah,
down
we don't have
south.
any of that.
Yeah.
No.
The way the rules around a hot dog was something I wasn't prepared for.
well, I feel like to me,
But
me
you
going into like
you
a hot
can't tell
dog-
me the rules on the hot dog because you break the rules.
I don't break the rules. I just leave a couple things off, but I could pick them off too.
Phil
but
breaks
it's-
the rules.
Phil breaks the rules. He puts fucking ketchup on a hot dog.
Yeah, and he's
Switching-
from here.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, in case you don't know, that's a rule.
But that's a thing where like you walk into a Waffle House and you lay down that order. I feel like that's me ordering a hot dog, a Chicago style hot dog. I could roll into a
You
hot
can
dog
order
joint
a hot
and
dog joint. Yeah.
Order a fucking shit out of a hot dog.
Would you say, as long as you've known me, my greatest thing that I've brought to the table would be the Waffle House order?
I think it's probably the thing I respect you the most for. That I look up to you, almost like a kid looking at his dad.
I don't know if that's the compliment that you think it should have been. That's,
Maybe it was. Maybe it was.
You know, I had a funny conversation like this with Phil Schmount. He said, I said something about they had some different things up there. He in the north when we went to pick up some chassis. He took us to lunch and stuff, and I told him about. He said, "Yeah, but y'all have that Bucky's beef jerky.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was a big deal, and we don't think really nothing of it."
Yeah,
and
really.
He was all he could reference was Bucky's beef jerky. That was, and to me, it's hilarious.
Buc-ee's is a big thing for tourists. It's not a big thing if it's
I can
in your
understand
area.
Yeah, not a big deal for us, but he thinks it's amazing.
I mean, I could go crazy at Buc-ee's. I don't think I'm leaving there spending a minimum of $100. If I'm going to
That's the point.
It's,
Yeah, you're buying some. That's a bad
but
place for you.
I could see it. It's definitely like, it's not a local thing. It's certainly touristy.
Yeah.
They're opening one. We've got one coming to Wisconsin sometime in
that's
the next
way
year.
up
So
there.
yeah, not far from us. Which
There is one on right outside of Huntsville.
Yeah.
And timing wise, on our trips back and forth to Birmingham, when I go back to see my daughter or something, my wife is fast asleep.
Yeah, you've told me about
the time that I can pull in and fuel up. And that's about the time that I need some fuel for my body to keep me going. It's usually about
Sweet
2
treats.
hours into a 10.5 hour run. And I will come out with, $100 bag of like 2 sausage biscuits, but I wonder what a country fried steak biscuit also tastes like. And down the road, I need probably some Red Hots and stuff. And I, at 46 years old, spending my own money that I worked for, driving my truck that I paid for, filling it up with gas that I bought, and sneaking back into that truck to not wake my wife to see my big bag of all my things. And I hide it down
What
in
are
the.
you doing?
Yeah, but I've only got caught once, but what is that? I brought stuff for Blaze.
Yeah.
I brought stuff.
Got some beaver nuggets.
Yeah. All right. First vehicle. So you're in Texas, born and raised.
Yes.
What year did you graduate high school?
84.
Your first vehicle, was it a car or a truck?
Car.
Changes it up. Did you purchase it or was it a gift?
It was a gift, but we were headed to get something totally different. And when I seen it, I told my dad I wanted that, and it was $10,000 less than what I was going to get, and so he was all for it. And I got something totally out of what we were headed for.
Was it a driver or was it a builder?
Driver.
I think as a young boy, that being that much cheaper, it was a foolish decision. Probably not a practical car, is what I'm thinking.
You're on the right track.
Something a little more hot roddy. 84, if it's that much cheaper. I mean, it's got to be something. It's got to be older. It's something from the 70s.
Early 70s.
Yeah. And he wanted it, so it's not like a hand-me-down, like a
could be late 60s.
Not like a four-door Chevette or something that was like grandma's.
No, he wanted it.
Yeah, he wanted it.
I wasn't forced to have it. That would have been the Chevette. I wanted it.
It's fuck. That's tough. Okay, it's a Chevy. It's a Chevy product. I feel like because he's
You think
tried
it should be?
We'll go GM.
Okay, GM. At that point, man, I'm thinking it just hit. This is an odd pull.
You going G body?
No, it's just it's like a '69 Firebird. A little.
Ooh.
It's a random one. It's just what I saw. I'm just. It popped in my head. I'm just spewing
You can
it out.
kick him in the shin next time you see him. 69
It's no disrespect.
Firebird.
No disrespect. That's just what I saw. I saw like a forest green '69 Firebird.
Convertible?
No, not a convertible.
Okay.
Little lower option. But he saw the potential in it.
GM in 84. It's going to be... It's a 73 Camaro. Great car, horrible bumpers.
No, 74.
74.
Yeah.
74. 73's got the... Oh, yeah, 74.
All right, hit us with it. How far off are we?
I'm going second, Jim.
Y'all are damn close. It's a white 74 Trans Am 455 car.
That's a badass car.
It is a bad... Yeah.
It was an HO. Yep.
Shit.
I didn't know what I had, but I wanted it and I got it.
Damn.
And then I tore the hell out of it. I did.
Shit. Yeah, that's a.
Wish I had.
Hey, we do...
We're circling around.
I know.
you're good, though.
We got a gift. We got a gift.
Yeah, that's a cool car.
Yep.
That had to be badass.
It was a
back then.
white car, bluebird, red interior, which is kind of odd. But
Yeah, the
it
red's
was
a little weird,
It was
but-
a very nice survivor car, roughly 10 years old, and it was cool.
Damn.
That thing get going on the interstate. Those 455s on the top side,
Yeah.
man, would start rolling. They didn't have no quit.
It'd try to get me home on time.
Yeah. Yeah. You gonna be at Triple Crown?
Absolutely.
You gonna be
Same
at
spot.
Columbus? Good guys.
We're not doing Columbus,
Okay.
and we're actually not going to do Des Moines, which I like Des Moines, the show, a lot. It's a long haul for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Cruise.
we're going to try to do Columbus every 2 or 3 seasons instead of making it a regular. I try to weigh the shows we choose by, like we were saying, do we get any work from that, or is there potential work there? And I guess there always is, but when you get that far away from home, there's a lot of choices between here and there to stop at a shop, and
Yeah.
it's hard to snag work from there.
For sure.
Jason, it's been amazing. See you here. If we don't talk soon, we'll see you at Triple Crown.
Yeah,
we'll have to hang out.
Crown,
We're gonna
let's hang
start
out,
cruising.
drink.
We're gonna start cruising.
We're at least going to cruise down the lane right there in front of the truck booths
That's
or
it.
something.
Absolutely.
Maybe-
I'll jump in with
Maybe over to the golf course. We'll see.
you. Yeah, maybe to the golf course.
Well, get your shit together and let's at least do that. Maybe we just play 9 just because we can.
All right.
Sounds good.
Love it, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. It was great hanging out.
No, I enjoyed it myself. I appreciate all you do for us, both for this, chassis, friendships. Oh, it's great.
Well, likewise, man.
Anything you
Okay.
need, let us know. See you again soon, Jason.
Will do. I will be needing. I
All
will.
right, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care, buddy.
You guys hang in there. Be good.
All right, man. You too.
All right.
Right. Great episode.
Yeah. He's a really good dude. Really good dude.
He is.
Been around a long time. Built some really cool stuff.
Down to earth.
Yeah.
Great style.
Great host, too. When we went by his place,
Oh, man.
that was a
Yeah.
blast. Really, really cool setup he's got.
Great place. Even when it wasn't hot, it just looked like it would be a hot place. You know, like, and just seeing around, like, this place is hot.
Hot as in heat or like hot, like this is fucking cool? Like,
The hot isn't heat.
okay, yeah.
It's just got a hot look to it. You know, when you go through Albuquerque, even when it's blowing wind, you're like, this place gets
That's
hot.
because you could see the heat coming
Yeah,
off the street.
this place gets hot. You like that little bit of knowledge that Buddy Holly's from Lubbock?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I looked it up.
Of course you did.
Yeah,
You
before.
fucker. You had to drop something.
I did.
Yeah.
I was like, what famous people are from Lubbock? I was trying to come up with an intro, and it said Buddy Holly. I was like, wow. I don't know who he is, but that sounds cool.
Yeah, rock and roll's gone downhill ever since Buddy Holly died.
Yep. You know who he gave his seat up to?
Yeah.
I didn't told you. Before we go, a couple things. 2 things, actually.
Yeah.
Three things.
Okay.
1 and 2.
1 and 2, we're wearing awesome fucking T-shirts.
Oil and Whiskey. Oilandwhiskey.com for your merch. T-shirts is what that is. This shirt, that shirt, and there's another shirt that we're not wearing because Phil's not here. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, otherwise we would have had the trifecta.
We would have had all 3 shirts. Phil couldn't be here. Phil is in...
It's in Branson, Missouri, which, interestingly enough...
Nobody else is in Branson, Missouri, except Phil.
Yeah. On the topic of golf, here we're talking about golf, which we didn't even plan that.
This doesn't count as golf.
It's a form of golf. It has golf in the name, in the title.
Well, the back half, but it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
Phil is in Branson, Missouri at a
Don't say it.
Frisbee golf men's league
I
tournament.
think they call it disc golf.
Is that...
Yeah.
I've always just
He's
known it as
disking.
Frisbee golf, but
He's disking.
yeah. The fuck was the last event he was at with his men's league?
Yeah, the pickleball.
Pickleball deal.
Didn't go
They
so
they
well.
got a first round elimination
Yeah.
in a round robin tournament,
Yeah.
and it turns out that the same men's league team is now trying their hand at Frisbee.
They got mercy ruled in the first round of pickleball.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. So now, the same group
But let's
of
wish
guys.
him luck. I haven't heard how he's done. He thinks they're gonna make it to the finals.
The Barrington Bombers are down in Branson, Missouri.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stiff competition for
What's the Missouri Mudcrawlers Frisbee Golf Invitational or something?
That team, their main local team is like undefeated. So
Have you ever been to Branson, Missouri?
No, nor do I plan on going.
Yeah. Go to in between Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, and then close your eyes and be like, what if this was worse?
If I had
That's
to,
Branson.
the way I picture it is if Pigeon Forge was in the hills of West Virginia instead of Tennessee,
Yeah.
but then in Missouri,
But also, like, if Vegas made it, like it was even faker.
Reno.
Yeah, Reno. it's Pigeon Forge on the outskirts of Reno is Branson.
Well, Phil will be back next week. We'll find out how he did. I don't know. Did they post any of that on their Instagram page?
I don't know.
Barrington
I
Bombers?
think it depends on how they do.
Okay.
They got positions of this thing too. Like they get
Yeah,
people
Phil's a
coming.
power forward.
I thought there's a striker. There's somebody that's a striker. Palatine Mike's.
Mike's
He's the striker.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, Phil, with the amount of hobbies and sports that his kids do, he keeps
finding the time
finding
to
more
do 'em
sports.
himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, God bless him.
Unbelievable.
He's keeping active. He's moving.
Yeah.
You got to stay. But his age, you got to keep moving.
Yep. Go to WeatherTech.com, our brand new sponsor of this episode. WeatherTech.com to get all. Not only do they have floor mats, they got basically everything you could possibly imagine. I was going through the website today trying to get prepared. You wouldn't believe the things they've got. And from a storage guy,
I know.
they got some.
I'm aware.
They got some dividers and some organizational
It is a company
sundries.
for me. To be honest with you, I'm very familiar with their product. Like, I rock their cup phone in my truck.
Mm-hmm.
The very first thing I bought for the truck was instantly on their website, buying the floor mats.
Yep.
My truck, my wife's car. It's good stuff, man.
It is.
I'm not real into modifying my daily drivers. That's the only thing I do is that jump on there, buy that. So the cup phone kicks ass, dude, because vehicle, I don't want to stick anything in the dashboard.
Right.
Phil turned me onto the cup phone.
Yeah,
He's
did.
had the
He's
cup
a
phone
big
in his
cup phone
Bronco
fan.
forever. And when you just initially think about it, you're like, is that the right thing for me? It's a great.
It is a great thing.
It's one of those,
I thought it was a hook, but it's
brilliant.
right.
It really is brilliant. It's one of those. Why didn't I think of that?
Dude, if WeatherTech made rear bumpers for 2500s, you'd be in business.
Yeah. Then my mom would have to only buy me a WeatherTech bumper for it
Instead of the whole
I don't think
rear
she
bed.
told me to send her the bill, but I feel guilty, dude.
Why do you feel guilty? She tried to
I know,
skirt responsibility. She tried
did.
to act like it wasn't her.
Yeah, well, just send me the bill. Like
You called us like possibly we had some involvement in wrecking your vehicle.
It's basically totaled.
Oh, yeah. I looked at it going down. It's going down the road like this.
Yeah, it's fucking dog
The frame
track.
is bent.
It's-
She had to have been going
do I
70.
do I hit her with the bill?
It's
not gonna be cheap.
Had she owned up to her mistake? No. The fact that she tried to act like nothing happened, I mean, unfortunately, no matter what your age is, you got to pay the penalty.
Yeah, got to pay the piper.
We'll see you again next week.
See you. Thanks for listening.